Daniel Harris was 29 years old. He lived in a small town in Ohio. He worked at a car repair shop. He was a quiet man. He liked simple things. He liked his job, his old truck, and his mother's cooking. Daniel's family were close friends with another family in Florida. That family had a daughter named Emily Turner. Emily was 26 years old. She lived in Tampa, Florida, with her parents and her younger brother. The two families talked on the phone often. One day, Daniel's mother had an idea. "Daniel," she said, "the Turners have a daughter. Her name is Emily. She is kind and smart. Maybe you two should talk." Daniel was not sure. He had never met Emily, but he trusted his mother, so he agreed. Daniel and Emily started talking on the phone. At first, it was nice. They talked about their families, their jobs, and their dreams. Emily worked at a hospital. She was a nurse. She told Daniel about her patients. Daniel told her about the cars he fixed. But soon, small problems started. Daniel and Emily did not always agree. Sometimes Emily was quiet for days. She did not answer his calls. Daniel felt confused. He did not know why she was upset. One night, Daniel called his mother. "Mom," he said, "I don't think this is right. Emily and I fight too much. We are not even married yet. Maybe we should stop." His mother was surprised. "Give it more time," she said. "Every new relationship has problems. Talk to Emily. Tell her how you feel." Daniel called Emily. He told her about his doubts. Emily cried on the phone. "Please, Daniel," she said. "Don't give up on us. I know we argue, but I believe we can be happy together. Give me one more chance." Daniel listened. He wanted to believe her. He wanted a happy family, just like his parents had. So he said yes. He decided to try again. A few months later, Daniel and Emily got married. It was a small wedding in Tampa. Daniel's family drove down from Ohio. Emily wore a white dress. She looked beautiful. Daniel felt hope in his heart. He hoped this was the start of a good life. But deep inside, a small worry stayed with him. He tried to ignore it. He told himself, "Things will get better now that we are married." After the wedding, life became complicated. Daniel's job was in Ohio. Emily's job and her whole family were in Florida. They could not decide where to live together right away. Daniel needed to save money and find a plan to move. Emily did not want to leave her parents so soon. So, for a while, they lived apart. Daniel stayed in Ohio. Emily stayed in Florida. They talked every day on the phone. Sometimes Daniel drove 12 hours to visit her. Sometimes Emily flew to Ohio to see him. It was hard. Daniel missed her. He missed having a wife at home with him. He came home from work to an empty house every night. He cooked dinner alone. He watched television alone. He felt lonely, even though he was married. "When will you move here?" Emily asked one day. "I am trying," Daniel said. "I need to save more money first, and I need to find a good job near you." Emily sighed. "My parents want us to live close to them," she said. "Maybe you should just move to Florida." Daniel wanted to make her happy. He started looking for a new job in Tampa, but finding a good job took time. Every week, there was a new delay. Then, one day, Emily gave Daniel wonderful news. "Daniel," she said on the phone, "I'm pregnant." Daniel felt so happy. He almost cried. "That's amazing," he said. "I can't wait to be a father." 9 months later, their daughter was born. They named her Grace. Daniel drove to Florida as soon as he heard the news. When he held Grace for the first time, his heart felt full. She was so small. She had tiny fingers and a soft face. Daniel looked at her and made a promise. "I will always take care of you," he whispered to her. "I will always love you." For a little while, things felt better. Daniel stayed in Florida for 2 weeks to help with the new baby. He and Emily worked together. They changed diapers together. They stayed up at night together when Grace cried. Daniel thought maybe this was the new beginning he had hoped for. But soon, Daniel had to go back to Ohio for his job. He kissed Grace on the head. He hugged Emily. "I will call you every night," he said. "I promise." As he drove home, Daniel felt a strange sadness. He had a wife. He had a beautiful daughter, but he still felt alone. Weeks turned into months. Daniel worked hard in Ohio. He sent money to Emily every month. He called every night to talk to her and to hear Grace's small voice. But the arguments came back. Small problems became big fights. One night, Daniel called, and Emily sounded angry. "You never spend enough time with us," she said. "You are always working." "I am working so I can support our family," Daniel said. "I am trying my best." "Trying is not enough," Emily said. "Grace needs her father. I need my husband." Daniel felt hurt. He wanted to be there too, but he did not know how to do everything at once. He needed a job. He needed money. He needed a home for his family. It felt like too much for one person. The next week, they argued again. This time, it was about Emily's family. "My parents think you don't care about us," Emily said. "That's not true," Daniel said. "I love you and Grace more than anything." "Then act like it," Emily said, and she hung up the phone. If you are enjoying this story so far, please like this video and subscribe for more emotional English stories. Now, let's continue. Daniel sat alone in his small apartment. He looked at a photo of Grace on his phone. He felt tears in his eyes. He did not understand what he was doing wrong. This became a pattern. They would argue. Then, after a few days, Emily would call and say she was sorry. Daniel would say sorry too. They would talk sweetly for a while. Then, a few weeks later, a new argument would start. Daniel tried to be patient. He thought, marriage has hard times. This is normal. It will get better. He read articles online about marriage. He asked his father for advice. Marriage is work, his father said. You cannot give up when it gets hard. But both people must try. Not only one person. Daniel held on to that advice. He kept working. He kept sending money. He kept calling every night, even on the nights when Emily was cold and quiet. Sometimes, weeks would pass with no real problems. Daniel would feel hope again. He would think, maybe we are past the hard part now. Then, like a wave, another argument would come and pull that hope away. A year passed. Grace was growing fast. She could sit up, she could laugh, she could say small words like dada and mama. Daniel finally saved enough money. He found a new job near Tampa at a bigger repair shop. He was so excited, he called Emily right away. "I found a job in Tampa." He said, "I can finally move there. We can finally be a real family, all together, every day." Emily was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "That's good news." Daniel was confused. He expected her to be excited too, but her voice sounded flat. He moved to Tampa 2 months later. He found a small house near Emily's parents. He was so happy to finally live in the same city as his wife and daughter. Every morning, he saw Grace's smiling face before work. Every evening, he came home to his family. For the first few weeks, things were good. But soon, Daniel noticed something strange. Emily often went to her parents' house. Sometimes she stayed there for 2 or 3 days at a time, even though Daniel's house was only 15 minutes away. "Why do you stay at your parents' house so much?" Daniel asked one evening. "I like being with my family," Emily said. "Is that a problem?" "No," Daniel said slowly. "But I moved here to be with you. I want us to be together, in our own home, as a family." "You worry too much," Emily said, and she walked away. Daniel did not want to start another fight, so he stayed quiet, but inside, his heart felt heavy. He had moved far from his own parents to be close to Emily, but it felt like Emily was still choosing her family over their little family of 3. Weeks passed like this. Some nights were good. Daniel and Emily would eat dinner together, play with Grace, and laugh. Other nights, Emily would leave with Grace to stay at her parents' house, and Daniel would sit alone in his quiet home. He began to feel like he was living the same lonely life, even after moving so far to stop feeling lonely. Daniel tried very hard to make things work. He took Emily out for dinner on weekends. He bought small gifts for her. He tried to spend more time with her parents so they would feel comfortable with him. For a short time, it helped. Emily smiled more. She stayed at their own home more often. Daniel felt hopeful again. But then, a new argument would start, often about something small. Maybe Daniel came home late from work. Maybe he forgot to do a chore. Maybe he said something that Emily did not like. The small problem would grow into a big fight. Emily would take Grace and go to her parents' house again. Daniel started to feel very tired. Not tired in his body, but tired in his heart. He felt like he was always trying, always waiting, always hoping for something that never fully arrived. One evening, Daniel sat alone in his living room. Grace's toys were on the floor, but Grace was not there. Emily had taken her to her parents' house again after a small argument that morning. Daniel picked up a small toy, a soft yellow duck that Grace loved. He held it in his hands. He thought about the last 7 years. He thought about the phone calls before the wedding. He thought about the doubts he had, even before they got married. He thought about all the times he wanted to stop, and all the times Emily asked him to try again. He whispered to himself, "What am I doing wrong?" He did not have an answer. He only had a small, tired feeling in his chest, and a great, deep love for his daughter. The next day, Emily called him. "I'm sorry about yesterday," she said. "Can we talk tonight?" "Yes," Daniel said softly. "Let's talk." He wanted to believe, one more time, that things could change. He drove to Emily's parents' house after work to pick up her and Grace. When Grace saw him, she smiled and reached out her small arms. "Dada," she said. Daniel picked her up and held her close. In that moment, all his tiredness felt a little lighter. He looked at his daughter's happy face and thought, "For her, I will keep trying." That night, Daniel and Emily sat together at the kitchen table after Grace fell asleep. For the first time in a long while, they talked calmly, without shouting. "I don't want us to keep fighting," Daniel said. "I love you. I love Grace. I just want us to feel like a real family." Emily looked down at her hands. "I know I go to my parents' house a lot," she said. "Maybe too much. It feels safe there. Easy. I understand wanting to feel safe, Daniel said. But I want our home to feel safe too. I want you to want to be here, with me. They talked for a long time that night. They did not solve everything. Some problems were too big to fix in one conversation. But for the first time in months, Daniel felt like Emily was really listening to him, and he was really listening to her. I don't know if we will always agree, Emily said quietly, but I don't want to give up either. Neither do I, Daniel said. Not yet. They agreed to try family counseling. A friend at Daniel's job had told him about a counselor who helped married couples talk through their problems. Daniel had been nervous to suggest it before, worried Emily would say no. But that night, when he asked, Emily said yes. Maybe someone else can help us understand each other better, she said. They started seeing the counselor every 2 weeks. It was not easy. Some sessions were painful. They had to talk about years of small hurts and misunderstandings. Daniel learned that Emily often felt scared and alone when he was far away for work, even before they got married. Emily learned that Daniel had felt unwanted many times, like he was always trying to prove himself to her family. Slowly, very slowly, they began to understand each other a little more. Daniel knew that one good conversation would not fix 7 years of problems. He knew there might be more hard days ahead. But for the first time in a long while, he felt something new. Quiet hope, built not on empty promises, but on real effort. He watched Grace grow every day. She was learning new words. She loved to dance in the living room. She loved when Daniel read her bedtime stories. Every night, Daniel sat by her small bed and read a book about a brave little bear. Grace always fell asleep before the story ended, but Daniel kept reading anyway, softly, because he loved the sound of her breathing as she slept. Daniel thought about his own life. He thought about all the years of loneliness, even while married. He thought about the many nights he sat alone, wondering if he had made the wrong choice. But he also thought about Grace's smile, her small hand holding his finger, her laugh when he made silly faces. He realized something important. Marriage was not always simple. Love was not always easy. Sometimes 2 people could love each other and still hurt each other. Sometimes trying your best was not enough to make everything perfect. But giving up was not the only answer either. Sometimes the answer was patience, honest conversation, and small steps forward, one day at a time. Daniel did not know exactly what the future held for him and Emily. He did not know if every argument would stop. He did not know if life would become easy. But he knew one thing for certain. He would keep loving his daughter with his whole heart. He would keep trying to be a good father and a good husband. He would keep hoping, even on the hard days, that tomorrow could be a little better than today. One Saturday morning, Daniel took Grace to the park near their house. The sun was warm. Grace ran across the grass, laughing, chasing a small red ball. Emily came a little later, after finishing some work at home. She sat down next to Daniel on a bench. "She's growing so fast," Emily said, watching Grace play. "She is," Daniel said. "Before we know it, she'll be all grown up." They sat together in silence for a moment, watching their daughter laugh in the sunshine. It was a small, simple moment, but for Daniel, it felt like something precious. It felt like a quiet promise that maybe, if they kept trying, kept talking, and kept loving each other honestly, their family could still find real happiness. Grace ran back to them, out of breath, her cheeks pink from running. "Dada, Mama, look," she said, holding up the red ball with both hands. Daniel smiled and picked her up, lifting her into the air as she laughed loudly. Emily smiled too, a real, warm smile that Daniel had not seen in a long time. For that moment, under the bright afternoon sun, the small family felt whole. If you liked this story, please like, comment, and share. More simple and emotional stories are coming soon.